Hey everybody, welcome down to Brew Brothers at the Row inside the El Dorado. How are we doing tonight? All right, good turnout again for show number 2. Nevada launching into the road portion of the schedule, playing at Troy. That is 6 o'clock in Troy, Alabama. It'll be 4 o'clock here on the West Coast in the Pacific time zone this coming Saturday. And Coach Choate, before we get into Montana State, SMU and the Troy game, we've got some Montana State folks here. You just mentioned coming in, so we got to shout out some son
We've got some old friends, Pat and Lisa Patterson from Tacoma, Washington. Willie played wide receiver for me at Montana State back in the day. He's played professionally in Europe, so great to see you two.
That's so great you guys came down. That's a good sign.
Yeah, that's always good. That's always good when they keep following us.
All right, so you had 3 weeks, give or take, to get ready for SMU. And you've got, 4 practices plus a walkthrough on Friday to get ready for Troy. How's that work?
Well, I mean, I think everything's kind of relative. I mean, really, you start preparing as soon as the schedule comes out. You gather all the film, you kind of do your background, and that was a little bit more challenging for Troy than it was for SMU. You got the same staff at SMU. You got really the same players at SMU. And this is a Troy program that's got a completely new coaching staff, although there's a lot of connectivity to the previous staff. And there's a lot of turnover on both offense and defense. So there's more unknown for sure in terms of our preparation.
We'll get more into the scout of Troy as we get into the show here. But let's talk a little bit. I know you guys are well moved on from the SMU game, but let's just kind of tie a ribbon on it. What must your football team take from that game? What's the overarching lesson you need them to learn?
Got to finish. I mean, that's the number one thing. Learning how to win is an interesting thing, and I think that you look at an SMU program that was an 11-win team a year ago, won a conference championship, returned a bunch of guys that had helped them win that championship, and they played like a championship team down the stretch. The deficit didn't faze them. They made plays when the game was on the line. And I think there were times where, we got a little bit tight, and that's part of the learning process. But I think that there was a ton of growth. There was a ton of growth. I know that they didn't anticipate us playing that. I mean, hey, there was a reason why they begged us for this game.
Right.
And it wasn't because they thought they were going to get everything they wanted and have to score with 118 in the game to win it. And so, I think our guys represented themselves well, gave this community some hope, and a product that they can be proud of.
You talk about hope, and I mentioned that. Yeah, that's right. Well, hope, like belief, and I talked about it in my piece in NevadaSportsNet.com following that game. You guys played, and the belief was evident, and belief is a primary, if not the first ingredient in long-term success. Did you sense the belief?
Yeah, I think first of all, there's trust. And that takes time to build. And I think that we've gotten to the point where these guys trust our staff, they trust me, and they're starting to trust one another. And as that trust is built up, now it's like, okay, I know this guy can do his job. All I got to go do is mine, and they start to even believe a little bit more. And so that process is well underway, and I think we had a result that shocked a lot of people, not just locally, but nationally. And but it sure would have been nice to get the W.
Yeah, I must say I see my broadcast partner Mike Edwards back there. He and I were, we're of course very objective in our presentation of the game, but by the end we were climbing the walls, and it was, I have to say, it was pretty exciting for everybody who has followed this program. And there have been flashes over the seasons prior to your arrival where Nevada played very well against Kansas, for example, last year at home. Mm-hmm. How do you maintain the consistency? Because now you've got it's like you guys had a good first test in the semester, and now you've got this next exam coming up.
Yeah.
And how do you get that consistency of effort?
I'll say this. Our guys practiced really, really hard last week. I challenged them. I said, hey, you played hard, but you got to play harder, because that wasn't good enough. They've practiced harder this week. Our GPS numbers are up. And so I think they're committed to doing what we're asking them to do. But this is not going to be a walk in the park. I mean, we're going into, and not really that dissimilar from what SMU walked into, a long travel trip, totally different climate, place maybe a lot of our guys have never been. The weather's going to be different. As I talked about with the climate, there's unknown. on the roster like what SMU had to deal with us. And so I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see it because really this game's totally about us. It does not matter. The matchups are going to be what the matchups are. We're going to have to adapt and do a really good job in game as a staff of identifying who they're kind of trying to target and what matchups they're trying to exploit, and then adjusting. And then the same thing on the offensive side is, hey, where are the advantages that we have and how do we exploit those? And so I think that's something to watch, is our in-game adjustments are going to be critical because we don't have a book on these guys like we did SMU. And we're going to have to play the same brand of physical, fast football that we played, because one thing about Troy, it's a winning program. It expects to win back-to-back Sun Belt Conference championships. Last year, they were the highest-rated G5 program. The Sun Belt has been the highest-rated G5 conference the last 2 years. And so this is a real program that expects to win, that has a ton of history and tradition.
So we're visiting with Jeff Choate. It is the Wolfpack Coaches Show. We're live at Brew Brothers at the Row inside the El Dorado. If you are listening on old school terrestrial radio, 94.1 FM, 1450 AM, ESPN Radio here in Northern Nevada, you can listen live on the Varsity Network, Varsity app. That's audio. It's free on the internet. And we're live on Facebook Live on video. So hi to everybody watching on the official Nevada Wolfpack Facebook page. And of course, if you come down, we do this every Wednesday at 6 o'clock, beer and ball with Coach Choate. Now, Coach, you actually, in your very first game on the Mackey sidelines, managed to conjure up some pretty surprising weather. That's good coaching. How'd you do that? And I look forward to seeing you replicate that in Troy, Alabama.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be about 91 at kickoff and about 70% humidity by the end of the game. So, yeah, I don't know honestly where it came from.
I mean, that's pretty neat. You called for it on this show last week.
I said, we get some good northern Nevada weather and get that wind blowing. It would have been nice if it had stayed that way.
Sure.
But
it kind of cleared
up. It got
up.
pretty nice as the game went on. But that was that was a nice welcome to Mackey for sure.
I mean, in some cultures, you would be like regarded as a lesser deity for that.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case here. I can't take responsibility for that.
Our friends at Baselite looking forward to watching everybody in Wolfpack uniform get out there and play this year. Call Baselite for any of your concrete products needs, 775-358-1200. Baselite, our great friend, 775-358-1200. So Nevada's on the road this Saturday and then home on the 7th, back at Mackey Stadium. Georgia Southern comes to town. That's a 4 o'clock kick here in Reno. And the next home game brought to you by Ryder Homes. Georgia Southern at 4 o'clock. NevadaWolfpack.com or 775-348-PACK for tickets. And it's also a leukemia awareness game in support of Matt Lubick, offensive coordinator. And tickets only $20 for this game. NevadaWolfpack.com. Come see Georgia Southern back at Mackey Stadium. That's it's an inspirational story with Coach Lubick, and it's great that the program and the community are going to get to celebrate his journey, his struggle.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a cause that both Janet and I can connect to. Her cousin passed away from leukemia, almost very similar to what Matt had, but they couldn't find a match. And then I have another close friend, Mike Cutler, who had leukemia and found a perfect match and has had a tremendous result. He's still with us and thriving, and so it's cancer touches everybody's life in some way, shape, or form. And so this particular cause is obviously very near and dear. There's a living example for our players and for us as coaches in front of us every day. And Matt is a lot tougher than I ever thought he was. It's impressive what he's doing. And I'll tell you what, you better buy these $20 tickets now, because the better we get, stock's going up. So enjoy it.
Coach Lubick and what he is confronting, how present is that? Maybe not in the conversation, but in the consciousness of the program.
I think when you see him, hey, this guy's been through something, right? But Matt, we have a schedule that fits him. He's tucked in bed by 8:30 every night. He's a morning person. He gets up and goes, and as the day goes on, you kind of see his energy start to decline, and then he doesn't have to coach a position. He's a walk-around coordinator. He can do a lot of the work remotely if he needs to, and so we've built a schedule that's going to work for him. And I can't even, this guy is tough, and he doesn't always have good days. And that, when you're going through something like that, you're going to have good days and bad days.
Right.
But even on his bad days, he brings that attitude of gratitude. He's grateful to be coaching the game he loves. I think he's grateful. It's kind of interesting. There's me, there's Brian Armstrong, there's our director of recruiting, BJ Robertson, and Matt. We all went to college at Western Montana College together.
Wow.
I'm the oldest, but they were all kind of in that same time. So he's around people that care about him, that he has history with, and I think that uplifts him every day, and he certainly uplifts and inspires us every day.
That's beautifully said, Coach. We'll take a quick time out here. We are live at Brew Brothers, inside the row. When we come back, we'll scout Troy, still to come. Joey Thomas and the cornerbacks are going to be here, so stick with us. Wolfpack Coaches Show from Learfield. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. Wolfpack Coaches Show live at Brew Brothers inside the Eldorado. We're live at the row with Jeff Choate, the Wolfpack. First road game of the year. It is 4 o'clock Pacific time. Kickoff at Troy in southern Alabama. The Troy Trojans of the Sun Belt. First all-time meeting between the Pack and these Trojans. It is the season opener for Troy. Of course, Nevada opened at home this past Saturday against SMU. A silver medal effort, but inspirational. 29-24 was the final score. Bud Light, proud sponsor of Nevada Athletics. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Work part-time in the Nevada Air National Guard. You can earn a steady paycheck, serve close to home, and enjoy military benefits, such as 100% tuition assistance. If you'd like to learn more, contact a local Air National Guard recruiter today. Follow them on Instagram at Nevada ANG_recruiting, Nevada Air National Guard. All right, Jeff Choate, let's talk just very briefly.
Can we talk about Air National Guard for a second?
I would love to talk.
So we actually, last week, we went out and they did a flyover in the C-130s.
Yes, they did.
And then we went out to their, I would call it more like a clubhouse. They've got a sweet setup out there. They've got a lounge for the pilots, and I mean, I think it's a pretty good gig. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, how do I get into this? But I'm a little old.
I was going to say, I think we've aged out, but I like that.
Anyway,
are you like me? When you're around military people, I'm starstruck.
Yeah, I'm in awe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's awesome. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's all right.
Yeah.
Shout out Air National Guard, Nevada Air National Guard. We talked last week about time management being, the head coaches. It's you really have your levers on that aspect of the game. How did you do in the opener? How did Jeff Choate coach in the opener?
Well,
you lost the coin toss.
Yeah, we lost the coin toss. I must have done okay because I got some random text at 4:30 in the morning on Sunday that explained to me that the only mistakes that I made were in the second half. I had 6 plays where if I'd have used the same clock management strategy on offense that we had the entire game, that you extrapolate this out somehow, and I'm how did this guy get my number, right? He texted me, right? So somebody gave me up, which I'm not.
It wasn't me, Shaggy, it wasn't me.
Yeah, and so anyway, long story short, going into the game, my objective was for us to, so there's a couple things you got to understand. One is the green dot can only be used until there's 15 seconds on the play clock.
Green dot is the helmet.
Yeah, the coach-to-player communication can only be used. Okay, so knowing that and not knowing whether SMU was going to use that on defense or not didn't matter because we weren't going to break the huddle until after 15 seconds. So a lot of times what defensive coordinators want to do is they want to see the formation, right? So hey, it's 3-by-1, it's 2-by-2. I like this call, I like that call, whatever the case may be, because there's formation tendencies that everybody has. So we frustrated them by doing that. I had a conversation with their defensive coordinator after the game on Sunday. And so they basically just said, the heck with this coach-to-player stuff, we're just going to go back to the old school way of doing this.
Got it.
And the other thing it did was it frustrated the head coach because he's offensive-minded. So we were trying to use as much clock as we could on each play. And Matt could even have those communicate, hey, we're going to milk it on this play, Brennan. Don't worry about it. We're good. X this, X that, boom. All right, 15 seconds, we're good. All right. So I think that was a real advantage. I think we did a good job in that regard. We had an end-to-half 2-minute drive that was without timeouts that resulted in a touchdown. So I thought that was well operated. I used a couple of timeouts to get ourselves kind of coordinated a little bit in the first half and settled down. And I probably should have used one more. And you're always going to look back on that last play, that last touchdown that SMU scored, and there was a coverage that I wasn't in love with, and but Kane called a tremendous game, and our DBs played their tails off the entire game, and you kind of sometimes you let it ride, but next time I'll trust my gut a little bit more.
But you talked about your game management game plan. against a very high-powered SMU offense, you possessed the ball nearly 13 more minutes, and you had 2 more snaps than they did. You ran 71 plays to their 69. That's how you limit a high-powered offense. I mean, and that's why it's a close game. So you executed it, in my opinion.
Going in, it was rush for 150, win the time of possession, win the turnover battle. And if we'd done those 3 things, I felt like we'd have a really good chance to win, and we did all 3 of those things and gave ourselves an opportunity.
Troy also has an offensive-minded head coach, Jared Parker. He was offensive coordinator at Notre Dame most recently. Is that maybe part of your thinking as you, obviously you don't have to show your cards too much here, but as you game plan, holding that huddle, that time of possession, maybe frustrating the offensive-minded opposing head coach?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think every game kind of takes on a life of its own. There's so many more on, like, we knew what we were getting into there.
Yep.
Here, I think this is going to be like a boxing match a little bit. Like, there's going to be a little feeling out process, maybe a little bit more in this game, and then we got to cut it loose. And so I like the way our guys competed. I like the edge they had. I like the swagger they played with. I think that's what I want my teams to kind of be. That's the identity I want my teams to have, is that, there's going to be no back down, no let down, no slow down. Let's go fight and see what happens. And there's going to probably be some collateral damage along the way from time to time. And as we mature competitively, we'll minimize those mistakes. And so, I've said this from the jump. We got 5 preseason games. This is number 2. And this is a great opportunity for us to go on the road and play in a unique environment against a really, really good football team that has a lot of really good tradition. All the way back to the FCS days when they were coached by Larry Blakeney and they made the transition into FBS. And I've actually coached there twice. One we won on a last-second field goal. The other one we weren't so lucky. DeMarcus Ware kind of got our number down there.
Sure. You mentioned this in your Monday press conference. The phrase I kept hearing you use was "that part of the world," and I could tell very specifically, and I suspect some of this stems from your time at Texas.
And Florida.
And Florida, right. Yeah. You're very conscious of kind of the specific cultural difference about college football in the South.
Well, it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's religion. And, the very first thing I did when I saw the game times released was I said, okay, when is Alabama playing?
Yep.
And when is Auburn playing? I think Auburn plays an hour and a half or 2 hours before we kick.
Sure.
And thank God Alabama's the same time. And so, everybody should go see Caleb DeBoer's debut. That's what I think. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Okay. But I know this: those students, for the most part, are going to be right behind us. They've kind of got a reputation of having a rowdy group right behind us in the student section.
Sure.
And I might have to come get Stephanie to make sure that she talks to their AD about, making sure that there's decorum. I'm not sure I can restrain some of my guys. I know Nico or some of my other coaches to do that, but
decorum.
Yeah. It's but hey, it'll be a spirited game. I promise you that. And they're going to have. It's well documented how many players they lost either to graduation or the portal with a coaching change taking place. But I can guarantee you these guys are going to have fast, physical football players.
61 newcomers, 0 players for Troy in their final year of eligibility who began with Troy. I mean,
it's modern college football.
I mean, that is, and it's inconceivable to think of those numbers maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's become basketball, right? Where you got 70-80% of the roster turning over every year, and you're like, well, that'll never happen in football, just sheer numbers. And sure enough, it's happening in football.
Does it advantage or disadvantage certain coaching skill sets? Like, you've got to build a roster in a way that was previously the territory of professional coaches.
Yeah, I think that guys, and the way I built my staff originally, I wanted to reach all over the country. So we brought in a guy who coached at Akron, a guy that coached at Syracuse, a bunch of guys that were down in Texas but had connectivity to different places in the world, people from the Northwest. That was kind of part of the MO, right? Brian Armstrong, a lot of people don't know this, but he was a longtime high school coach in Florida at Kathleen and Lake Gibson. And so he's got deep reach in Polk County, Florida, Tampa area. And so I wanted to make sure that we were balanced in terms of how we built that, because those relationships and that connectivity still matters, even though there might be a bottom line that didn't exist before. And so I do think that my, being a little older and having coached a lot of different places And one thing I will tell you, in the coaching world, when there's a kid that says, hey, this isn't going to work out for you here, you're going to go somewhere else, and you have a good reputation, and they'll say, you know what, I know a guy, and this guy at Nevada, this guy's a good ball coach, he'll take care of you, you'll have a good time and a good experience and all that kind of stuff. Well, some people may have a very small sample size of who's going to say that about you. I've been literally coast to coast in this country and coached a lot of people, and I think I've tried to leave things better than I found it, and I think that does help us in this modern environment.
Well, some of the players we're going to have up in a little bit. I mean, Michael Coates is from Mississippi, and Chad Brown originally from New Jersey, and KK Meyer originally from Lubbock, Texas. I guess those would not be kind of traditional recruiting areas for the Wolfpack, but you're thinking nationally.
Yeah, and well, all three of these young men are actually guys that stuck with the program during the coaching change, and so I think that's unique as well. And I think Joey is, I think he's done a good job with him, man. I mean, proof was in the pudding on Saturday night. I mean, we played toe-to-toe sticky coverage with some pretty good receivers, and we're going to have to do it again because Troy has talent at the wide receiver and tight end position. And they've got a quarterback that, even though he doesn't have game experience as a starter, he has a lot of experience with the system that they're going to run. He was recruited originally by the now offensive coordinator when he was at West Virginia, and then transferred to Troy, and now he's taken over the reins.
Yeah,
and he's got a great name, Goose.
Goose Crowder. That's an all-time name. Can you just maybe illustrate a little bit the West Virginia crossover with Troy?
Yeah, I think so. I think all this kind of centers around Neil Brown, who's currently the head coach at West Virginia and was the head coach at Troy. And if you look at the resumes of just about everybody on the staff, they've either been at Kentucky, Texas Tech, Troy, or West Virginia.
Right.
All of those are places where Mr. Brown was at one point in time or another, either as a head coach, a coordinator, or a position coach. And so that's kind of the connection, right? And even John Summerall, the guy before, he was at Kentucky, more of a defensive-minded guy, and now he's the head coach at Tulane, but he did a tremendous job there.
So you have to be a little bit forensic, right? Kind of tracing where these guys have been to get film of what you think you'll see.
Yeah. So, who are they influenced by? Where have they been? Their defensive coordinator was the safeties coach at West Virginia, but prior to that, he was the defensive coordinator in an FCS program in Tennessee Tech. And so, all right, well, who's he going to be? Probably more influenced by his time at West Virginia. Mm-hmm. Although he's going to have his own spin on things. So again, there's that feeling out process.
I mean, I could see that going two ways. If you're a real kind of like football geek, you could love it, or you could think, man, this is a headache and this is very time consuming. How do you feel about it?
This game kind of drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there going, all right, I'm watching Troy and I'm going, okay, this is here's a little bit of their personnel. And then I'm watching West Virginia and sprinkling a little bit of Notre Dame, and you're going, well, it's the same stuff. I mean, it's all the same family tree, right? So why are we watching all this West Virginia stuff when we should be watching more of the Troy and blah, blah, blah? I don't know. Like I said, it's all going to come down to in-game adjustments. So, let it rip.
All right. Well, Mike and I will be keyed in to those in-game adjustments.
Yeah.
So it's not just halftime, right, adjustments?
And of course, with the in-game video, that can be better too. But like one of the things I'll tell you, that is the difference. The higher you get in level of coaching, the more detail there needs to be in the adjustments that take place series to series.
Per series, right.
Because the acumen of the coaches, they're gonna make you pay for something if you don't get it fixed immediately.
Got it.
So you're gonna see that, they're gonna test you again on that early in the series. Okay, they got that fixed, we're gonna go to the next, turn the page, let's go to the next one. Not a knock on some lower levels that I've coached at, but there's times where you can run the same play out of the same formation all game and nobody's going to make an adjustment.
Right.
That doesn't happen at the Power 5 level.
An MMS Events Unlimited mobile stage can elevate your concert, speaker, or special event. Book yours today, biggestlittlestage.com. Biggestlittlestage.com, rise above the rest. MMS Events Unlimited at the Tailgate Zone at Mackey every home football game. Also, our great friends at Camelot Party Rentals makes it great. So you can celebrate best selection of rental equipment for weddings and special events. Camelot Party Rentals, proud sponsor of the Nevada Wolfpack and great partners over so many seasons. We'll take a time out here at Brew Brothers. We're with the head coach, Jeff Choate. Coming up, we'll visit with Coach Joey Thomas and talk a little secondary, little defense. We're live at Brew Brothers at the Roads, the Wolfpack Coaches Show from Learfield.
Should play defensively versus their offense. What do we anticipate them doing schematically, and helping Coach Ione put a plan together to help us be successful.
How'd you do in week 1?
Not good enough.
Okay, I understand it, but let's look at the numbers, the data here. For example, you have 308 passing yards. I mean, you're going to live with that against that offense, right?
There was definitely some positive, that we could take away from that, and we're encouraged. But the standard is the standard, and we're not going to change. And we fell short, so there's obviously things that we could have did better. But are we encouraged? Absolutely.
Joey Thomas, tell us how you came to the Pack. Give us your story that brought you here tonight.
All right. Well, I met Coach Choate about 12 years ago. I was a high school head coach in Seattle, Washington. He was the new head coach at Montana State, where I graduated, by the way. I heard a lot of good things about him, and then he kind of came in my office because I had a lot of talent at that time, and I met him, and I was like, this guy gets it. He gets it. So we just forged a relationship from there. We stayed in touch. There was an opportunity where it could have happened at Montana State, but it just didn't happen at the time, and we stayed in touch, and I took a job eventually at Florida Atlantic, coaching receivers. I saw a coach at the championship game. And I said, Coach, what's going on? We had a conversation, and they were looking for someone at that time at Texas to kind of help the corners and the DBs, play press man, be aggressive, and have some swagger. And it was a no-brainer. So Coach Choate was the reason why I went to the University of Texas. He was the one that made it happen, and we was able to work together, and he was able to see me up close, and we were able to build our relationship and grow and become closer. And when he got this job, it was a no-brainer.
You were coaching high school in Seattle. You were at Garfield High School?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any music fans out there? That's the high school Jimi Hendrix and Quincy Jones went to, but also great athletics tradition.
Great athletics, a phenomenal basketball program. Track and field has historically been phenomenal, and they were kind of a track and basketball school. So it was actually my neighborhood school that I should have went to. So when the opportunity presented itself, I had to take it.
Explain that dynamic between high school coach and college coach, because that's a relationship that, when you have the privilege of being around football coaches, gets a lot of attention.
Right.
How was Coach Choate when you were a high school coach?
Oh, he was great.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach gets it, man. Life's about relationship. Yeah. Coaching is about relationships. It's about people. If you can build and inspire people, it doesn't matter what you do, you'll always be successful. And the thing you learn about high school coaches, those are usually some of your best teachers, because there's usually a big talent disparity between your best player and someone who needs to get better. You're not able to recruit your roster, so you have to be creative on how you teach your individuals. You have to be creative on your teaching style. And even to this day, I use the same principles that I've used back then to connect with people, because again, it's really all about people.
How did you come to coaching?
I'm a son of a coach. I was born in it. It's just in me, not on me.
So you always knew?
I always knew.
In your path? Or on your path?
I didn't necessarily know coaching, but I always knew that I was going to serve people. I'm a son of a coach. I watched my father give back. It was just something about it. So I think probably in college, at that point in time, I said, I'm going to give back. I just didn't know in what capacity. And then towards the end of my career, because I had some injuries, it was like, well, what do I do now? I knew I was going to serve. And I was asked, hey, are you interested in this head coaching job? And my first head coaching job was at Ballard High School. And that's when I met Coach Choate, and I did it. And being a retired NFL athlete, trying to figure out what's next to be able to be around these young men at that point in time, it was a blessing to me, because it gave me purpose, it gave me meaning, and it was a great transition for me. I loved it, and I'm very passionate about helping people believe in something that they didn't believe they can do. And I love that. And this is just the space that God has put me in right now, with football. And again, football is the vessel, but it's always about the people. And as long as you put the people first, you'll always win in life.
I will say this as often as I can, that the best part about sports is that they're played by people. And so it's great to hear when coaches reflect that reality. You mentioned your time in the NFL. Do your student athletes ask you about that? Do you have a message about that?
Not really, but I don't talk about it.
Yeah.
My past is my past. Like, if you want to know, I'll tell you, but I'm on my 4th career at this point.
All right, I want to know. Like, I want to know. Like, what's different? What's different?
About the game of football?
Yeah, like,
in the NFL, what college? What,
yeah, like if you're on the Nevada Wolfpack right now and you think you want to be in the NFL,
what do you have to do?
What are you telling them?
Attention to detail. Small things equal big things. Coach Ion always says that. Coach Choate has a saying that, you get what you get in the meantime, but in the end, you get what you deserve. And it's all about the work. If you do the work, the results will take care of themselves. And that's what it's about. I think most people don't succeed in life because they give up too soon. It's not because they're not good enough. It's not because they're not smart enough. It's because it doesn't happen on the timetable that they have in their head. But the reality fact is, if you keep moving forward, putting one foot in front of the other, you will get to that goal. It may take somebody a month to get there. It may take you 2.5 months. But if you do your due diligence and you believe and you keep grinding, you will shine too. And that's the biggest thing.
Coach Choate.
So along those lines, let me tell you about the first time I met Joe. Okay, so we're in Ballard High School. We had a couple of guys that were, prospects, maybe some suspects. and so I sit down with him, and, I knew he graduated from Montana, or I knew he attended Montana State University. Let me correct that. Okay, I knew he'd been one of the highest draft picks in the history of the program. And, but I also knew that he didn't have that paper yet.
True.
So to talk about taking that path. So in that first conversation with Joey, that was one of the things he talked about. He expressed his desire to get into college coaching. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you something you got to do if you're going to get that done.
Right.
And over the next 3 years, we made that happen. He got back involved at Montana State, engaged with our athletic coordinator, received his degree, and that allowed him to take that next step into college coaching. Yep. And that was what I told him he needed to do. And I think I told him, hey, you get that done, I'll hire you. It just took us a few years. So
yeah, it was
congratulations for seeing it through, making the long run.
That's
appreciate it.
That's beautiful.
And let that be a message to the athletes over there. Finish school, get that paper.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. You carry on.
No, I was just saying, make sure you graduate, because I left early. I left in December, so I had a whole semester left. And I went to the show, but I still had to come back and get my degree to accomplish my goes in the next chapter of my life.
Should we have these young men up?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's take a time out. We're going to get KK Meyer, Michael Coates Jr., and Chad Brown coming up next. Wolfpack Coaches Show live at Brew Brothers from the Row. Wolfpack Coaches Show from Learfield. Welcome back. Wolfpack Coaches Show live at Brew Brothers inside the Row at the El Dorado. John Ramey with you, and we have 3 student athletes from the Wolfpack secondary. Guys, let's just go right to left here. Give me your name and your class.
Michael Coates, 2025.
KK Meyer, 2026.
Chad Brown, 2024.
Okay. You guys have stayed with the program after a coaching change. Each one of you can please tell me the challenge. The challenge and why you made your decision. You go ahead, Chad.
Well, with me, this is my 3rd coaching change, actually. My first year, I had Coach Norvell. He came, recruited me. He's the reason why I'm here. And as soon as he left, that's when Ken Wilson came. I was able to play with him for a couple seasons, and then now here with Coach Choate. I feel like we got the right guy. So just
loyal to the Wolfpack. KK?
I didn't really think it was a challenge, just last year, not ending up how I wanted it to be. Coach Choate came in to our team room, and he had a vision, he had a plan, and I wanted to be part of something great. And with that vision and that plan, I felt like we could do great things this year, and that's what I think.
Michael?
It wasn't a challenge at all. Like what KK was saying, when Coach Choate came in that team meeting room, I felt the energy, and he brought great coaches around us, so it wasn't a challenge.
Michael, it says in your bio you didn't play football in high school.
No, sir.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
So how are you playing at the highest level of college football now?
I walked on to my junior college and made the team. The coach gave me a chance and worked hard, and now I'm here.
But what told you, how'd you know how to put on the pads?
I played in Pop Warner.
Okay, so you had, got
Yeah.
it. But, that takes a lot of belief in yourself.
Yeah. It do a lot of work. You got to work hard.
really just working hard.
This game in Troy, Alabama, it's the southern half of Alabama towards the Gulf Coast. You're from Mississippi. You played at Louisiana Tech.
Yes, sir.
What should we know about college football in the South?
Physical, strong, and they love football. They love football.
KK, Lubbock, Texas.
Sir.
Football in Texas, football in the South. You have thoughts on it? What should people know?
I think, people are, the O-line's really big. I feel like people, they love football. They live, breathe, everything, Friday nights, everybody comes out, in the community and comes out and watch the game. So, I feel like it's just a different type of love and, really excited.
Is it helpful, do you think, for the Wolfpack culture to have some guys who've played the sport in the South?
Yeah, I think so. It gives like diversity throughout the team and stuff like that. Everybody comes through different walks of life. Everybody's not just from one specific area in the country, and I think that's great for, the diversity of the team.
Chad, New Jersey,
Yes, sir.
Central Florida, high school in Baltimore, and also Fresno City College.
Yeah.
You've been everywhere.
Been all over, yeah.
Wow. Tell me about that journey. How did that work?
Yeah, so I had moved New Jersey when I was younger, and I attended school in Maryland.
Yeah.
And I went to Powerhouse St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, Maryland. Once I went there, I had to take the JUCO route, so I went to Fresno City College.
Fresno's a long way from Baltimore.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
It's crazy. Once I knew I had to go take the junior college route, I began hitting up a lot of junior college schools asking, just for a shot. And Fresno City was able to get back to me and just took that leap of faith and went out there, chased my dreams, and I'm glad to say, landed me here at a spot like this school. Well, I went to UCF after Fresno City, yeah. Went to UCF, did the spring semester there. Once I left, I entered the portal, and then I came here.
Chad, tell us about your interception on Saturday.
Interception. I mean, it's a great call by our defensive coordinator. I mean, he put us in position, and I feel like all 11 guys, executed the play. We had pressure up front. Backers, got their drops, and cornerbacks, defensive back, we held it down and was just able to go make a play for my team.
KK, you and Chad both played basketball in high school.
Yes, sir.
Michael, did you play basketball in high school? No. Okay. Who's got the better game?
I'll have to give that to Chad.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I don't say too much, but I'm athletic. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's right. All right, Michael, who gets? This is the question we ask all the student athletes. Who gets the aux? Like, who do you let run the music? Like of this group on stage right here.
Probably me.
You? Yeah. Would you guys agree with that assessment?
Yeah.
Why?
For the most part.
Has he got the best taste?
Yeah, he could bring some energy,
Okay.
some vibes to the locker room.
I mean, the music is important.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
Best trash talker of the three of you? Nah. There's a high bar for defensive backs, trash talk, right?
I feel like we talk a lot of
Yeah.
trash.
Really?
I think we let our game do the talking.
Yeah.
Now,
too much
maybe
to
I'm
say.
wrong, but I would say that that's not maybe the expectation of the sport about corners, right, or defensive backs.
So you got to be on edge a little bit. You know what I'm
Really?
saying? Yeah.
What's the mentality you have to play your position, which is essentially daring to fail very publicly several times a game? Michael?
You gotta be a little crazy. You gotta be a little crazy because don't nobody know how I feel to give up a big touchdown and come back and gotta play the next play. So only we know how I feel, so that what makes us closer.
All right, guys, give it up. KK Meyer, Chad Brown, Michael Coach Jr. We'll take a break. We'll wrap it up. Wolfpack Coaches Show from Brew Brothers after this from Learfield. Wrapping up here on the Wolfpack Coaches Show live at Brew Brothers Inside the Row. We want to shout out a couple folks on Facebook. Jordan and Michael, thanks for checking in and commenting. Our friends at Somerset Golf and Country Club, great partners. They're back with us. Memberships at Somerset start at only $300 a month. Check out their clubhouse. Go see the staff. Call 775-787-1800. Also, Shelter Insurance. Put shelter on your team. You'll be glad you did. Get a free insurance review, shelterinsurance.com. We're your shield. We're your shelter. Shout out Jeff Choate, Joey Thomas, Chad Brown, Michael Coates Jr., KK Meyer. All-star lineup of guests tonight. And thanks to all of you for coming down. We're on the air at 3 o'clock Saturday, 105.7 FM, 3 o'clock this Saturday. Bud Light pregame show, 4 o'clock kickoff. Nevada at Troy. Make sure you join us. And we'll be back here Wednesday, 6 o'clock, right back here at Brew Brothers next week with Coach Choate. We'll see ya.